everybody. Welcome. Please enjoy some music while we get ready for the service. We'll be starting here in just a couple of minutes. And we are so grateful that you're joining our Unity East family. So tell your friends, text them real quick and tell them to get on Facebook Live. All right, see you in a few. Hello. I don't want to do that. Good morning again. Thank you for logging in, and it's time for our joy songs. I know you know these, and we invite you to please sing along with us at home. And the first one is I Behold the Christ in You, and the second one is I'm Choosing Heaven Today. So let's have some good energy and great fun this morning as we sing.
See That's a dual song.
Technical
You don't get that very often. That's cool.
I don't know why it's doing it.
Yes. Your PowerPoint's not up there. Oh, there it is.
I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road of heaven right now. I'm choosing joy today. I'm choosing joy today. I'm choosing joy today. I'm choosing peace today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing I'm choosing peace today. I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. Walking the road of heaven right now, singing I'm choosing heaven today. Walking the road of heaven right now, singing I'm choosing heaven today. Yay! Good morning, everyone. Well, new songs, a little technical difficulty, but hey, we're working it, aren't we? Trying. So here comes the music again. I'm going to have to stop it. So just a second.
I was wondering what that was.
Yes. For some reason, they're not stopping like they're supposed to.
Don't you go to just the next slide?
Oh, you know what? It just stopped. So good. Yay. Praise the Lord.
All right. Well, with everything in unity, we begin with prayer. So let's just take a moment to join together wherever you are, whether you're at your home or wherever you are, where you're getting a connection to the internet right now. We love you. We behold the Christ in you, and we see you growing every moment of every day. We appreciate everything that you are and see you in God's light, surrounded by nothing but joy and happiness. And so as we come together this morning, we go forth knowing that God is here, God is with us at all times, and we are being blessed at all times. And so it is. Amen.
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 And our statement of being,
There
there is only one presence and one power in my life and in the universe, God the good, omnipotent. And our mission statement, there is Unity East of Atlanta is dedicated to teaching practical Christianity as taught by Jesus Christ. This ministry acknowledges the presence of God within through affirmation and prayer. And our statements of truth, I am a child of God. I am deserving of good in my life. I am accepting my good now. And our positive building vision prayer, the love of God expresses through each of us to manifest heaven here on earth, to build a place that serves all people all the time, a place that allows each individual to experience more spirit and light. Now is the time, I am the one, and together we create a world that works for all. Amen. And our 2020 statements,
a year of completion,
a year of celebration.
Well, we're trying a new speaker system, and we're getting some twang, so
Yes,
hopefully we'll get it
we've
fixed.
got a monitor for the iPad, like a speaker for the iPad, but it's not
It's
quite
working
right.
okay.
We'll tweak it. We'll
Yeah.
get it right.
I think you're tweaking tweaks now. I tweak.
Yes, I felt like I was kind of in a tunnel a little bit, but now it sounds really. Okay, so we are here for prayer time because we're not doing announcements since there is no activity going on here right now. But well,
What you talking about?
let me say this. A lot of prayer activity, a lot of the Spirit of God moving in and through us. And so through this prayer time, we just, can come together at any moment of the day and pray for each other. If you don't have a slip of paper at home, grab one or go to your texting and text me your prayer request or email them. We have maybe a few prayer requests. Do we have some prayer requests today? Yes, Maria?
Yes, the Malet's family is Brian's friend lost his mom last week. So the Malet family.
What? Say the last name again.
Malet.
So it's M.
Malett.
Okay.
And for the wife of my ex-husband's father passed also.
Oh wow.
Yes. So I don't remember his name, but Miriam's Thompson's family.
Okay.
He's in Puerto Rico. His name was Alfredo.
Alfredo.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just send peace and comfort to both families and see them moving through this with ease and grace. Anybody else have prayer requests? Sandra? No?
Well, just want to continue to, uplift everybody whose families are affected by COVID-19,
Which is everybody.
Yeah.
Essentially.
pretty much.
So we're praying for all of us.
For all of us.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for all of us to eventually be able to come back and go back out into society and be with each other again.
It will happen.
Yes, I'd like to think of it as a prayer for discernment. What is ours to do? In every moment of every day right now, we have to think, is it that necessary to go to store? Is it that necessary to be around people? Do we really need to go to the eye doctor right now? No, that could wait a month or whatever. So all these things, we have to just use that power of wisdom and discernment to decide what is important, what's not, and how we move through this with ease and grace and patience, I think, too. I hear a lot of Facebook posts that don't sound very kind and loving these days. And so we want to move away from that and go back to that idea that we are in this together and that we're here to support and love each other. So I think that, praying for all of us during this time is important.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? All right. So let's just take our prayer slips and we'll place them in the box and we'll pray over all the prayer requests. And those of you at home, please know that we're lifting each and every one of you up. Like I said before, I look at all your names every week and I send you love and prayers. So please know that we are doing that for you.
Yes.
I didn't get a prayer out this week, but it's been a little busy and lots of things going on.
Okay, so as we take this moment to just bless everyone that has asked for a blessing, knowing that each of us are a blessing, we can share the time together, well, more than just this time, but this time in particular, to just enjoy each other. Knowing that as we see each other as a blessing, we not only will be blessed, but we will be more of a blessing. So as we go forth, we see all the situations with the truth inside each, knowing that God is inside each, and knowing that God is active and alert in each situation. So we let that come to fruition, we let that blossom, and we see the final picture in our own mind's eye. See the final picture being joy and happiness in everyone. And with this inclusion, we are all one in spirit. And so it is.
Amen.
Amen.
All right. So it's time for the daily word.
Okay. The daily word.
Good morning, all.
Morning.
Today, the word of the day is word World peace. I contribute to peace in the world. When I learn of conflict in my community or in the world, my response may be frustration, sadness, or anger. If I have those feelings, I remember that I am more than merely human. I am a living expression of God, heir to all that God is. I use my divine faculties of wisdom, understanding, and love to create the abiding peace that is my birthright. Centered in divine peace, I realize that every person is as much an expression of a God as I am. As differences dissolve in a way that transcends human understanding, I come to know oneness with all the world's people. I let this realization shape my response to every person and every situation. In an awareness of my oneness with all people, my thoughts, words, and actions contribute to peace in the world. And from John 17:22, the glory that you have given me, I have given them, so that they may be one, as we are one. The daily word is world peace.
Thank you. So we prepare for meditation by singing.
So the presence of the Lord is in this place. And we take this time right now to become calm, to take a breath, to just feel the energy that is moving within us. We are blessed by the very breath we breathe. We are blessed by having time to just be who we are. We are blessed by each and every person that thinks of us. The power for the month of May is power, and that is about what words we speak, which also generate from the thoughts we think. So I invite you this week and this time right now to think about people that you haven't seen in a while. People from church, your church family, people that you might come in contact with every so often, people that you see on a daily basis that maybe you're not being able to see. I invite you to think about each and every person and just lift them up with thoughts of truth, with words of truth. See them divinely blessed by your energy. And as we enter a time of quiet, a time of silence, I invite you just to maybe think of one or two people right now that you really want to lift up in prayer, that you really want to lift up in consciousness as we enter a time of quiet, a time of silence. So I invite you to take another breath. And whoever you are sending that energy and love to, I invite you just to let it expand beyond those people, those couple of people you were thinking about. Let it expand out into the world. Let it expand out to those that are with you right now, or maybe those that you have talked to today or that you're going to call after service. Let it just expand out into the world and touch them. Touch their soul. And as you do that, you're affirming their greatness, their divinity, the Christ within them. And that's the best gift you can give. So take another breath and allow yourself to come back to this now moment. And for this time together, this time apart, this time with the oneness of God, sharing it with all of you, we say thank you, God, together. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.
Okay, good deal. Thank you, Francie, for that meditation. And today is the lesson title is Out with the Old, but I get to say a couple things first. First of all, welcome and thank you for coming and joining us today, however you're doing that online. And second of all, I want you to know that the jokes that I'm using while we're away from each other, physically away from each other, are secondary jokes. So I've got quite a few saved up that I really like that you're going to hear when you come back. So anyway, let me begin with this joke today. And this joke is an older joke. I don't know if I've told it or not, but anyway, one day the devil and Jesus were having there you go. The devil and Jesus were having a computer knowledge contest. And they were sitting there doing things on the computer. Both of them had the same list to do, and they were going having a back and forth. Jesus was ahead, the devil was ahead, and then after a little bit, the devil kind of started pulling ahead a little bit. And then all of a sudden, there was a power outage, and all the power on the computer went dead. And so, in a few minutes, the power came back up, and Jesus started out where he was from, where he had ended off, and the devil had to start at the beginning again. And the devil got really, really mad and went to God and said, "That's not fair. That's not fair. You made me start all over." And Jesus got to start where he left off at. And God looked at him and said, "Everyone knows Jesus saves." So anyway, those of you fundamentalists, there you go.
That's funny.
All right. Out with the old. Everybody knows this saying, I hope. don't repeat it yet, but it's out with the old. The second part you'll repeat here in a minute. But all of us have a option of what we're thinking about, and I really love it when I see somebody that has been letting outer ideas and outer things influence them enough to where they act in a certain way which isn't their best Christ self, and then they decide to not let those outer influences bother them anymore, however that is, whether it's whatever they do, whether they shut off something that they're watching, whether they stop talking to someone that's negative, or just doing the same thing but not letting it bother them. It's just wonderful to see that. That's one of the many blessings as a minister that you receive, is to see people grow in that way. And as far as this comes into faith, when you think about how you are choosing to look at things. But this is what Charles Fillmore, one part of thoughts, the definition in the Revealing Word of thoughts that Charles Fillmore has, and he has a large definition of thoughts. So if you want to look in your Revealing Word, you can find out. This, I think, is the second paragraph of it, or third paragraph, I don't remember which, but it says thoughts. One of the axiomatic truths of metaphysics is that thoughts are things. And thoughts are things, because they always, whatever we think of, manifest in some way or another. Whether it's the person that's letting it bother them inside and not acting all Christ-like or not, or something manifesting even further down the road, which wouldn't be good. He goes on and says that the mind of man marshals its faculties and literally makes into living entities the thoughts that it entertains is also a foregone conclusion, just like I was saying. The word things expresses poorly the active and very vital character of the thoughts to which the mind gives life, substance, and intelligence. So it's more than just the manifestation of something. It's what you are giving to the world, to spirit, as the truth, which isn't the truth in this situation, or in some situations. We see many inanimate things around us in the material world. If we compare our creative thoughts with them, we get an inferior conception of the marvelous ability of our mind in its creative capacity. So in other words, whatever has manifested, even the things that has manifested in our world that we call good, is still a minute thing compared to what our thoughts can create in the manifest world. So just think of that as far as if we're thinking about our building. All the thoughts that we've had, and some of them have been really grand thoughts, have been really thoughts of this beautiful place. That's just a small portion of what it can be if we continue to think the right thoughts about it. So in with the new. Now tell me what's the second part of it? All right, out with the old, in with the new. This is the second part of it. I gave it away. Oh well. So out with the old, in with the new, right? Everybody heard that, right? Yeah, out with the old, in with the new. I mean, it's an old saying, an old idea, but it's really the idea that even though I don't like putting us a new thought, as you know, the idea of Jesus, really, and the Christian faith, to be quite honest, above and beyond what was taught in the Old Testament and the Hebrew Bible. So, but today we're going to get a lesson from the Hebrew Bible, believe it or not. When we join our thoughts with the things of spirit, we join in a higher understanding of things unlimited, which was just the explanation I gave. Is that if we allow ourselves to be in a spiritual sense, as far as our physical body, where we don't let the outer things turn us negative, when we grow and know that all things are possible, we will not only see more things possible, but we also will manifest them, which is more important. Not only in our own life, but in everyone's life. We will look at people differently. We will look at things differently. If we can take a situation, if it's a personality situation where I don't like someone for whatever reason, they've done me wrong, whatever it is, then we can change that in our own mind, and we'll see the good part of them and start to be more of seeing them as a blessing in whatever it is. And let me give you an example of what we're going through right now. The COVID-19, the virus, virus that we are going through right now is something, believe it or not, that God is involved in, that has been created, I know you don't like to hear this, by our thoughts, words, and actions. It's been created by that. So Which, you know, governments all over the world are investigating right now to find out where it started and all that. It doesn't make a difference what they come up with of where it started. We know where it started. It started by a collective consciousness of what is going on in the world. And we can release that just as fast, if not faster, and get rid of it. And I see that happening. See that coming to fruition. Because the news, if we look at the news, we focus on how many cases we have, how many deaths we have, which is all something, it's important data that we need to know and we need to parse out. But we also need to look at more positively how many cases we've had that have healed, which is by far much more than have succumbed to this disease. And I'm not trivializing the deaths that have happened, because we all want to give our condolences to those, and we all know people that have been very sick from this disease. So we don't want to trivialize that at all. Yet there are any number of things that people die from. And so let's go forward with this. Your health, wealth, happiness, and your faith is dependent upon what you are thinking. Of course, our faith is something that we kind of understand that part, you know, as far as whether we believe in a higher power, or whether and here's why we need to believe in a higher power, is because if we don't believe in a higher power, how can we become a higher power? You follow me? How can we grow in our own spiritual understanding? How can we make a better world? How can we make a world that works for all if we don't have faith in a higher power? In our own personal life, how can we have health? How can we have wealth? How can we have happiness if we don't believe that that is available? Right? If we don't believe that we're going to make money, we won't make money. If we don't believe we can have health, we won't have health. If we don't believe that we won't want happiness, or we'll have happiness, we won't have happiness. But on the reverse side, if we do believe it, then it is a possibility, right? Right. Okay. Now we come to the story. The story that's going to take some time, because we're talking about 3 generations here. And it's a very early story in the book of Genesis. And those of you who are not here that love the Bible, or wishing that you would be here right now, and those of you that are not here that don't love the Bible, don't mute it, please. It's not that bad of a story. It's a good story, actually. And I want to start with the 3 generations. This isn't 3 generations up there. This is Isaac, Esau, and Jacob. That's only 2 generations. But the generation before, the one that had Isaac, was Abraham and Sarah. And remember what Isaac came from. Isaac came from it was a total blessing. Abraham and Sarah had been told that they were never going to have another. She was barren and she was never going to have another child. And Abraham, of course, was very sad about that, because he wanted another child. He wanted a son. And so God blessed Abraham and said, "You will have a son." And Sarah did end up having a son, Isaac. And Isaac was a blessing. And the word Isaac in Hebrew means laughter. And so to laugh, Isaac was, because it brought so much happiness to the family. And that's why Isaac is named Isaac. And so Isaac was full of joy. But as everybody knows, the story goes on for Isaac. Lives a good life and ends up having 2 sons, Esau, the oldest, and Jacob, the second. But they were twins. And Esau and Jacob were born, obviously, at the same time, but Jacob was the second child. Esau came out first, so Esau, in old-time traditions, was the one that was going to get the blessing of the family, the first son. But Jacob was, the story goes that Jacob was holding on to Esau's heel when they came out of the womb. In other words, they were saying that Jacob was trying to pull Esau back so Jacob could be the first out of the womb, so he could receive the blessing. But Jacob, the name Jacob, and that holding on to the heel of someone in Hebrew culture means deceiver, trying to deceive someone into thinking that they were the firstborn. Well, later on in life, that proved to be exactly what Jacob did with Isaac. When Isaac was on his deathbed, Isaac called for Esau to come and receive the blessing, because he knew he was going to die. Isaac knew he was going to transition into another form of life. And so when Isaac was in his deathbed and Jacob heard that he was calling for Isaac, Jacob showed up. Jacob heard he was calling for Esau, right? That Isaac, their father, was calling for Esau. Jacob showed up first, told Esau that he needed to go somewhere else, and he showed up at Isaac's deathbed. And so Isaac asked, well, who is here with me? And Jacob said, it is Esau, father. And so Isaac gave Jacob the blessing of the family. Well, of course, you know that that's going to cause all sorts of turmoil. As I'm sure that if you translate this into your own family understanding, I bet you that have siblings understand a little bit of this going on. And so when Esau heard of this, of course, he didn't like it, and he came back to Isaac, the dad, before he had made his transition, and said, Father, I want the blessing. This is Esau. Jacob fooled you, and you gave him the blessing. And Isaac said, I've already given the blessing. I cannot take it back and give it to somebody else. Well, Esau kept hounding his dad, and Isaac ended up giving a half-hearted blessing. But he couldn't give his blessing in their own mind. What he was thinking, Isaac was thinking, because this was limited thinking back then, not as much as we know now. He was thinking, I cannot give the blessing. I cannot take it away from Jacob, even though he tricked me, and give it to you, Esau. So he couldn't do that, so he gave him a half-hearted blessing because Esau kept bugging him about it. So Esau went on and lived, the next 20 years lived a life that was okay, but it wasn't as great as he knew it could have been, because he didn't get the blessing. He didn't get the blessing that Jacob stole from him. But Jacob went on. Here's the part of the story a lot of people forget. Jacob went on the next 20 years, and he didn't have a good time either, even though he got the blessing. So what does that make you think? Maybe the blessing isn't the thing that you need. Maybe the thought behind the blessing is what you need. Maybe the thinking behind what someone is giving you, what someone is throwing your way, is what you need. So if we think about that, Jacob went on 20 years, and then comes up another famous story in the Bible that everybody knows about. Jacob, and sometimes we don't all put this all together, so we kind of drift along, and at least I did when I was younger, drift along and not exactly know where we're at. Well, this is 20 years later, and Jacob is struggling along with life, and he never has gone back to Esau to apologize because he's scared, quite frankly, of his older brother, even though he's a few minutes older is all. He's scared because he knew what he did. He deceived his dad, or their dad, and he stole the blessing. And even though it hadn't worked out for him, he still feels like, well, this is the law, and this is the way we live, and Esau essentially has the right to kill me next time I run into him, so I'm not going to go see him. So, but Jacob runs into this angel, man. They have different definitions in different Bibles, whatever you want to put in it. And so he decides he's going to wrestle with this angel because he wants to receive a blessing from the angel. And maybe that's going to turn his life around. Well, the angel and him wrestle back and forth, and the angel tries to leave, and Jacob says, no, I'm not going to let you leave until you give me a blessing. And so the angel decides, okay, well, I'm going to test you again, Jacob, and see what you do. And he says, because Jacob has gone along all this time, these last 20 years, as the firstborn, as Esau, okay? And so the angel says to him, what is your name? And Jacob has a choice here to make. He has a choice to continue saying that his name is Esau at important junctures of his life, to make him more important, to make him the blessed child of the family, because this is all the lineage. It goes all the way up to David in the Old Testament, and then to Jesus, okay? So this is all real important. It's all in Scripture, this is what it is. It's lineage. It's important. So, but Jacob's there with the angel, and the angel asks him, what is your name? And Jacob, wrestling all day and all night, decides, no, I'm not going to lie anymore. What happens, happens. And he says, my name is Jacob. And all of a sudden, things change. He's not tired from the wrestling anymore. He's feels like he's lifted a weight off of his shoulder, and he decides, I'm going to go back and I'm going to apologize to my brother Esau. which he does, and you can read the rest of the story if you want to, but this point is what I'm making. No matter how long we've lived a lie, no matter how long we've lived something less than we have to live, we can change it in an instant. Angels are all around us all the time. We don't have to wrestle with one necessarily, although we are in our mind when we're not living the fullest with our thoughts. So if we allow our thoughts to be truthful, if we allow our thoughts to be meaningful enough to live the life that we were meant to live, no matter at what point we decide to do that, we can still be and still receive blessings. And so this story, if you listen to it, if you put those stories together and look at the life of Jacob and Esau and Isaac, and realizing that Isaac came from Abraham and Sarah and all that stuff, essentially the whole Genesis to that point, you can understand a little bit more about what it is talking about and the significance of it. But that's the way the Bible is, and that's the way our lives are. I've said many times that there's nothing in our lives that happen that does not show up in the Bible. And it's just because of the way the Bible is written, it has all the human experiences in it. The most important human experience that it has is our spiritual understanding, no matter where you look in the Bible, our spiritual understanding of what is going on. So what we're going through today, what does that mean for me today, Warren? What are you saying? How does that mean anything for me today? Well, are we living in something that is not truth? Are we living in something that is fearful? Are we living in something that doesn't lift up the all of humanity? In a lot of situations, we could probably say affirmative to that, couldn't we? We can figure out a way to be in communication with each other, be in communion with each other, and still be safe health-wise, can't we? Yes, we can. I'm going to answer these questions for you. So, can we do whatever it is, COVID-19, whatever comes about? I was really set to thinking this morning when I saw an article on the internet that I hadn't thought of before, but it really made me think, and I didn't have it in today's lesson, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. And the article on the internet said, what if we do not find a vaccine for COVID-19? Now, thank goodness we're thinking, at least the majority of thought right now is thinking that we're going to have a vaccine, which I think we will too, for COVID-19. But what if we don't? Are we going to let something like that rule our lives as far as how we live? Are we going to let anything outside of our own knowing rule how we live? No. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to take precautions. I mean, I don't think I've run into too many people I know out there, but if you have, you've seen me when I go to places, the store and the hardware store, wherever I go outside, I'm usually wearing a mask. That doesn't mean that I'm scared of getting anything, but it means that also why I'm doing it actually is because I want to make everybody else feel comfortable around me. And so we have to look at where we're at and what we're doing with our life. You know, everybody refers to this situation, tries to compare it to the 1918, 1917 Spanish flu, and why they called it the Spanish flu, I don't know. Didn't start in Spain or any Spanish country. But anyway, neither here nor there. That's what they nickname things, and that's why today we name new viruses or things by COVID-19 or whatever. We don't name it like the Warren flu, whatever. We don't name it that anymore. Yeah. So anyway, what I was thinking about though was they're all comparing it to that. But you know what? Even something that I thought of, because I was in Rotary for a long time, is polio. People think that because we have, especially in the Western society, that polio doesn't exist anymore. But it does exist still. And it's a small fraction of people that have it, but it does exist. But when it was a pandemic, it was very strong in the United States and affected a lot of people and paralyzed a lot of people. In fact, we here in Georgia have a place where Franklin Delano Roosevelt used to come. He has what they call the Little White House there. That's a little tourist spot. But he had a house there when he was president that he could come down to. Where is that place in Georgia? I forgot the name.
Warm Springs?
Yeah, Warm Springs, Georgia. Thank you. Warm Springs, Georgia. And the reason that the president would go down there fairly often, no, Hot Springs is in Arkansas. But anyway, the reason the president would go down there is because of the spring water. They built a pool there that the spring water was said to heal people that had paralysis. And believe it or not, the president would swear by it. He would always feel better. And I don't doubt that he would feel better. And yet, whatever it is, see what the difference between somebody healing fully and someone saying that is even though it's small, it's minute, it's a shift in thinking. The president thought that the water was helping him, and it did help him. According to him, it helped him, which is great. But if we think, instead of thinking about something on the outside helping us, thinking about spirit helping us from the inside, then I think we can heal from any health challenge, which we've proven at this church many times. We can heal from anything. People outside of Unity don't believe that. In fact, some people in Unity don't believe that because they haven't experienced it. But then again, we're looking at the outside again. We have to quit looking at the outside and look inwardly. That's what Jacob did when he decided to quit lying. He said, I'm not going to lie anymore. This is an angel. Why would I even lie to that anyway? An angel, when the angel knows the truth. So we have a choice of what we're going to do. But this is the key. Instead of thinking that we have to get in front of somebody to be blessed, we have to recognize that we are all born with original blessing. And I know this throws something in the face of a lot of Christianity. Even though Jesus taught this, it isn't something that a lot of Christianity teaches. In fact, a lot of Christianity teaches the opposite, that we were born in original sin, which is not true at all. There's no way that anybody can say, no matter how long they've been going to a Christian church and been taught, even from a little age. I know it's hard to change your thinking about this, but there's no way, no matter how long you've been taught that you were born as an original sin, can believe that and back it up by not saying God makes mistakes. If you think God's perfect, which I'll agree with you on that one, then how come He made you imperfect? Don't give me that you're human and all that stuff. Don't give me that. Why did God make a mistake? God didn't make a mistake. You were born, and here's the funny thing, I think, as far as people get off on that, as far as original sin, is they use it as a crutch. They use it as I can only be so much because I was born in original sin, you know. Okay, and I'm going to go off the deep end here again, too. It's like addicts. I'm always an addict. Really? I thought you quit drinking years ago. I thought you quit using drugs years ago. Why are you still an addict? Well, because I'm susceptible to that. Well, yeah, you are. Sure you are. You can go out and sin anytime you want to. You can go out and have a drink anytime you want to. You can go out and have drugs anytime you want to. As long as you're not locked up. Well, even there you can get it. But that's a choice that you make. It's a thought that you have in your mind, whether you're an addict, whether you're a sinner, or whether you're blessed from original blessing, and you can go forth. I love it nowadays. A lot of people say, especially in the South, say when you ask them how they say, I'm blessed. Yeah, you are. You are blessed. And I hope you're coming from an understanding that you were originally blessed, so you are unlimited. But when we put on an original sin and we use that as a crutch, are we unlimited? No, we are not. If we are an addict, whether it be drug or alcohol, are we unlimited in our thinking and our actions? No, we are not. Just like someone who has a personality conflict with someone. The idea to think with someone that you don't like, you've experienced things that you didn't like between you and this person over time. And I can use an example mainly because a lot of people experience this is their boss. And no matter what the reason is, whether they've experienced something themselves personally with the boss and had a disagreement, or else the group that works under the boss has talked them into something negative about the boss. You still have your choice of what kind of relationship you're going to have with that person. And if you think negatively about them, then you're going to have a negative time at your work. If you think positively about them, then you can change that perception and not let all that outer influence take you down with it. If you are born of original blessing, then you don't have to worry about those who think they were born of original sin, because you're not going down that rabbit hole. You don't have to, and you know it. So I hope you join me today in not going down that situation and having yourself understand that you are unlimited in every way. Just as Jacob understood, he was unlimited as Jacob. He didn't have to be Esau. He didn't have to get the original blessing. My gosh, he had to suffer 20 years before he understood that, what did this blessing get me? How long have we suffered to do that? How long do you suffer before you figure out that, if I keep doing this same thing, I'm going to keep getting the same results? How long does that have to happen? If I keep doing this same thing, I'm going to get the same results. What if I change a little bit? And I'm not asking to cost you anything. I'm asking you to change your thoughts about the situation. See what happens. See what happens. I know you're going to be blessed. So we are all born with original blessing. Ooh, I think a lot of people out there that are listening right now are going to love that. But some of those people, when we boost this thing, I don't know, they're going to turn me off probably. Turn me back on, okay? Oops.
You turned you off.
I turned myself off. When we understand, though, we are unlimited, when we understand that we were born in original blessing, or with an original blessing, then we are unlimited in our gifts, and nothing can prevent us from accepting them. So it's not only a step, though, of saying, okay, I'm going to switch my thinking to I am born as an original blessing. It's also accepting the gifts that come your way, which is hard for some people. It's hard for some people to accept their blessings. But we need to be able to accept, because what happens if we don't accept is we stop the flow of everybody giving. I don't know about you, but I was so happy when, I'm not saying anything political sides, I was just so happy when all the government decided to give the people money this time. And it wasn't because I'm didn't want to see a stimulus or something go out another way, but it makes so much more sense to me to give you the money. Give you the money. Give you the money. Because I know you're going to spend it, first of all, and I know that you deserve it instead of, and I'm not saying anything against big corporations, but we've seen history in past, big corporations not do the right thing with the money. So if you're given something, I know that you're going to do the right thing with it. So accept your blessings. If we don't accept our blessings, then we stop the flow of blessings. I was leading a church in Wichita, Kansas many years ago, and I stopped someone from giving a tithe because he was a wealthy person, and I knew him quite well. And he was going to give a tithe like he had done many times before, but I knew he was going through a rough patch financially. And so I told him, I said, you know what, just keep that for now. I don't really want you to give that to the church right now. I know what you're going through. And I didn't accept it as far as the church. Boy, was that a big mistake. That was kind of like, you could see his face drop. And that's not what the intent was, but that was what the result was. And I think we heard not too long ago, it's not always, and in fact I told you, the intent is very important, yet the result is just as equally important. And so if it doesn't work to the intent that you gave it, then let it flow. And we have to let somebody, if they're ready and willing to give, to let them give. That just keeps the flow going. It's kind of like when we say stop or we don't accept our blessings, it's putting a rock in a dam in a flowing stream. And if we keep putting more rocks in there, what's going to happen? It's going to stop the stream, isn't it? But see, the funny thing about giving and receiving is, if it stops the stream on those rocks, what's going to happen? That water is going to build up until it gets to the top of the rocks, isn't it? And it's still going to flow over, isn't it? It's still going to happen. No matter what our intention may have been good, we still have to allow it to flow fully. It gets to more people faster and better. So, I hope you receive this blessing today. But if you receive this blessing made specially for you today, please say amen.
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 Oh, I heard somebody at home say it. All right. Now, I've got, Rev Francie is going to play a song here that I picked for you that is, oh, I didn't even know he had a picture. Anyway, I like the song. Anyway, it's going to be kind of an Old Testament song too. You get a lot of Old Testament today. holy do you feel today? I hope you feel unlimitedly holy. That's kind of an interesting way to say it. Unlimitedly holy. I can say I'm surprised I said it without stumbling. Unlimitedly holy. It's kind of
Say it
easy.
10 times.
Unlimitedly holy. I can say it 10 times, I think. Anyway, thank you for thank you for that. And we hope you receive your blessing as we are going to accept the flow of good right here and right now with your blessing, our blessing, and financial in all ways. So let's say our blessing of abundance together, please.
Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am grateful. So sing along with us at home.
God is my source.
God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need.
Yay!
All right.
We so appreciate each and every person that's been giving online, sending in your checks, still doing your monthly giving. It is so appreciated, and we are so abundantly blessed. And I feel like it's still been in the flow of what we would if we were in here sitting. So thank you, everyone. It does help us and help to continue to grow the church.
Yes, and just think if you're, when we come back, we're going to have things probably set up a little bit different here in the church. Or someone could probably just, I don't know how fast that would be, pretty fast though. If we had a $2 million donation, we could probably build that building, and it'd be big enough that we could socially separate
Distance.
the distance without any problem. So
That's right.
anyway,
We don't need 2 million.
okay, 3.
I'll take 2 million for sure, but yeah.
Okay, well, we're just going to say thank you for all these blessings, as Rev Francie has said, and we continue the flow of prosperity for me, for you, for this church, for all our wonderful ideas flowing out in the community and in the world, and we're going to see it all work for everyone involved, and so it is. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right. Next week's message is, I didn't finish.
Mother.
That's weird.
Mother.
I know I typed it. That probably was when one of the boys interrupted me or something.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
kind of-
Blame the boys.
It's kind of hard to do. Well, they know what my computer's touch
Mother.
screen, so guess what they want to do?
Maybe
They're
that's a
close to
Freudian
it.
slip. Who knows? I don't know.
But it's Mother's Day next week.
Mother.
And my title was Mother's Day Every Day.
Oh.
It didn't all get up there, but
Okay,
that's
sure.
the title. So we're going to learn a little something about that. If the shoe fits.
Yeah, I know. If you need some counseling this week, if that's your mom, that's okay. My doors are open. Yes, we are.
I was
All right, let me
talking
go
about
get
you.
the
Well, while he goes and gets the boys, I don't know what to say about that. Anyway, well, how is everybody doing? Well, I'm so excited to see all the names that posted of who was here. It's great. I feel like that romper stomper bumper boo, Miss Fran. I always liked it, but she never did say Fran as a name of one of the kids. But I feel like we should name all the people that
Don't touch that.
have posted.
Don't touch that table, please.
Come here, buddy. What you got on you?
He's got a
Come
phone.
here. Are you supposed to have the phone in church? I don't think anybody can see you in that camera now, can they?
No.
Scoot over, you might. Yeah, you can.
Nope.
Just scoot over, yeah.
They right here.
Barely.
They can? Aiden's got his cell phone in his pocket. And what else you guys got? You got squeaky dogs?
Yeah, this is my
Come here,
dog.
JW. Say hi to everybody on the camera. See the camera up there? Say
Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody.
So can you guys lead us in the prayer for protection? You know you're going to have to get Mike.
Hey,
Oh,
what's my
hold on.
Mr. Bill's getting you one. So we can all stand.
Thank you, Mr.
Hi, Miss
You're
Ashley.
welcome.
Hi.
Come over here, right here. You gotta stand right here now. See the camera's in a different spot. It is
let's
turned
go.
on.
Let's
Grandpa
say-
turned it on.
say the
Here we go.
protection
1,
started.
2, 3. The light of God surrounds us.
The love of God enfolds us. The power of God
God protects us. The presence of God
to sing the peace song. Let me get it up here for you.
Good job. Good job singing the prayer, boys.
Is that too loud?
That's fine.
All right. Love you all. Send you all blessings and hugs and kisses. And we appreciate and love each and every one of you. And we're going to say, see you next week.
See you